Maybe you're thinking currently about native ads and asking yourself, does it make sense for my brand, for my company? In this quick video, we will find out when native advertising makes sense and when it doesn't make sense. And I have 3 points for you to check it, does it make sense, or does native advertising doesn't make sense for your paid marketing strategy. Hi everyone, my name is Marcel Sattler. I'm the founder of PurpleBlack, a native advertising only agency. We run native ads on platforms like Taboola and Outbrain for many years, almost a decade. And I'm pretty sure to know now exactly what's working on native traffic sources like Outbrain and Taboola and what's not. Because in the past couple of years, we run a lot of client projects, but we're not just running clients projects, no, we also run affiliate projects and we tested our own projects with own stores and stuff like that. So we spent millions in the last couple of years on native advertising. That's the reason why we know now exactly what's working on native and what's not. First of all, you have to know why we created this video here. So in our agency, we have a lot of requests. Many people are asking us, hey, does this product make sense on native? Hey, does this service make sense on native? And to be honest, from 10 requests, we're only working with 1 or maximum 2 because the rest 8 or 9 products or services are not a legit offer for native advertising. Because you have to know, you can use native advertising like Facebook with audiences, with interests and something like that. Native ads are working completely different. We created 3 checkpoints for you to double check if native ads are a good fit for your product or service or not. Those 3 checkpoints are working for e-com, so if you're selling something on Shopify, with your shop or something like that, but also for lead generation, if you want to generate high quality leads to sell them something on phone, etc. The first thing is you need a very broad B2C approach. What I mean by that is that your product or service must be interesting for a very big audience in a country. For example, if I take Germany as a whole country, I know that some special business advice tips are not very interesting for a bunch of people in this country. But I know, for example, that an insurance product, which is very broad, makes sense for many people out there. That's exactly the point. So you need a very broad product approach, which might fit for a lot of people out there. Some special niches, some B2B niches, doesn't make sense on native because you don't have a targeting option. So native, you're not able to pick interests like business traveling or something like that to pick, for example, a business-to-business audience. And that's the point why you need a B2C product, so a business-to-consumer product. You sell something to people, to regular people like you and me, and not to business people. And as I mentioned before, your product or service must be very broad. So nothing dedicated for a niche or something like that. Broad niches can also be something like, hey, you're a dog owner, or hey, you're a house owner, or something like that. That's broad niches, that's very broad niches. On the other side, if you have a very small audience, a very niche product, a very niche service, it doesn't make sense to run native ads at all. Because unfortunately, you just will burn a lot of money and never ever get a conversion or something like that. So it's better to invest that money in another traffic source where you can target those people very precisely, like for example Facebook or Google. Let's jump to the second point on our checklist. You need a tested offer. You have to work on native with tested offers. It doesn't make sense for you to test a completely new fancy product on native ads. Why is that? Because you have to know that native advertising, or especially testing on native advertising, needs much more time, much more effort, and is much more expensive at the end of the day. And if you want to earn money, it makes sense to use and offer a product or service which already works in the past on other traffic sources, for example, like Facebook. So if you have a completely new, innovative, fancy product, please use other traffic sources instead of native ads, especially if they don't have a very broad approach. But I will give you another example. That's the point where many people are starting to work with us as an agency and to start scaling their business. Because in a regular use case, you're already running, for example, very successful Facebook ads. But currently you're struggling with the performance of Facebook or with iOS updates and all that stuff. And that's the point where native advertising might be interesting for most of you guys, because you have a very smooth scaling on native, and if your offer is already tested on other traffic sources, for example, like Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, it's working. So you know exactly that the offer, that the price point, the landing pages, etc., that the whole construct, the whole funnel is working. And that's the point. And that's the point where you just get some low-hanging fruits, add native advertising, pump in some advertorials, and it will screw up, it will scaling up completely your business. So in a nutshell, please do not use completely new, innovative, fancy offers on native advertising. Use instead of that working funnels, working products, working services where you know exactly, maybe from other traffic sources, that they're working. And last but not least, you have to create a recognizable added value. What I mean by that is you must be able to explain your product in a way that people know what's in it for me. And why is that? Because in most cases, we are not just creating a native ad and put them on an offer page where they can buy something or generate a lead. No, we're using advertorials or landing pages. And in those advertorials, we are converting a completely cold audience from the advertisement into a hot, ready-to-buy audience. And that's the reason why we need an advertorial to explain the product, to explain the service, and tell you a little bit more what's in it for you. But unfortunately, many companies, many brands are not able to give a recognizable added value on this point. And let's be frank, we are very good in that what we are doing. We are very good in creating native ads and advertorial and all that stuff you need to run successful advertisements on Outbrain and Taboola. But we are not starting on Hogwarts and we can't wizard. And that's exactly the point. So if you don't know your recognizable added value for your product or service, we are not able to do it. In the other case, if you know exactly that you have a recognizable added value for your product or your service, we can put it into an advertorial and it will blow up a completely cold audience into a hot, warm, ready-to-buy audience just within a few clicks. In general, you have to know now if native advertising might be a good fit for your product or brand, whether if you're in lead gen or in e-commerce. But of course, there's much more to know about this. And I have good news for you. With a bunch of checklists, which you can download for free without opt-in or something like that, to double check if your product or service makes sense on native advertising, and to split them into lead gen and e-commerce, because those offers are a little bit different, but we go more into detail because, as you know here, this video just was 3 points, but there are much more points to check if your product or service is a good fit for native advertising sources. To get this checklist, just click the link below in the description, and I would be happy if you leave me a comment here and tell me if you think that your product or service might be a good fit for your brand. And by the way, I would be extremely honored if you're an active subscriber of my channel and activate the bell to get notified when I upload a new video. See you next time.